You can't hide. This game has a new design. Fear, suffering, death. You haven't seen anything yet.
Well, I hope y'all got y'all's fill of Saw tonight, because that's the last one. Last time.
That's the last one.
What? Hey, you should be in tears right now.
I feel like I need to go back and watch the trailer just to be sure they actually said that, because when you watch this movie, there is nothing about it that gives me the feeling that this is the last one.
Oh my God.
Not at all. Not at all. I was like, did they take off the final chapter on the poster? Because when we walked in there, I looked at the poster and all it said was Saw 3D, and they made the D like almost not noticeable. So when you look at it, it's like, are we still back in Saw 3 again? Are we starting all over?
Like if you look at the poster, it says,
rebooting.
It's like Saw 3D.
Yeah, I know.
But man, I was telling y'all the other day when we were talking about these movies that I actually do enjoy the traps. It's the story that disappoints me in this, and I'm not looking for a deep story because we saw this tonight.
I hope not.
with an audience, and you know what? I finally get it, man. I mean, I feel really bad for even talking about the audience that goes to see this, because the audience tonight, they were just laughing at all the bad shit in this. They know how terrible these movies are.
Oh, no, they know. They were laughing. They were texting. They were calling up their mothers. And,
every line that we were like, and just kind of laughing. Like, can you believe this shit? So were they. And it was like, wow, they actually are just really into this for how bad it is. But, I mean, there's a point you're like, come on, guys.
I just think it was like something for them to do while they were texting their friends, because I saw about 5 phones out with people texting while watching the movie going, man, that's so stupid. What? Oh, shit. Oh, man, that's crazy in the text.
Were they texting that the whole time? Like when people getting text messages that said, man, that's stupid.
Yeah,
Probably
exactly.
a Saw app designed so you can hold it at the screen and then it'll tell you when it's referencing something from a previous Saw film. I figure everybody's going to be using their phones the whole time anyway.
I think the next Saw movie, as far as the watching their fan base today, the next Saw film shouldn't go straight to DVD. They should just go to fucking your phones to where you can download that shit and just hang out in the theater without you don't even have to turn on the projector, and just have them watch their phones while they're texting their friends about the movie.
Well, they should have they should play the movie on your phone.
Yeah,
so you never look up at the screen.
But I will say this is the one movie that actually kind of makes me want to see it in D-Box. Because you're in a big moving chair with shit poking out at you and stuff. Come on, man, this movie was made for D-Box.
Yeah, when I had check it out, man. When we came in, the lobby is full of black college students.
Yeah, my initial thing was like, run.
I think Cyrus came into the theater through the air ducts.
Yeah.
He fell from the ceiling into his seat.
Yeah, when I fucking rolled in there, I was like, oh shit, what happened? Was there a fight? Oh shit, somebody died?
We ain't gonna see no movie tonight.
No.
Well, no, you didn't see cop cars in front.
No, I didn't see none of that.
Yeah.
No, but yeah, I guess they were. I mean,
well, what happened was
college kids, right?
They were, because when I came in, I was just like, wow, there's a lot of people here to see Saw. And then I looked closer and I was like, wow, there's a lot of black people here to see Saw. And then I looked closer, I was like, wow, there's a lot of black people to see Saw in front of this one door.
I know.
What's going on? What did Jigsaw tell these people?
I honestly thought when I walked in, I was like, did Tyler Perry just have a new movie come out, or what the fuck's going on?
Yeah.
He's opening up a movie on Halloween too?
Yeah, Tyler Perry wrote on that tricycle on all the black people's screen. I want to see a new movie. That was the trap for them. But what happened was a black fraternity rented out a theater tonight.
Okay.
And they filled that theater up so much that it spilled over into our theater, because that's where you saw the phones. It was like it was nothing but silhouettes and phones walking in, and all you could hear was girl, man, shit.
In those films, that would bug me to the point of being furious. But come on, really, it's like what little plot there was in this film was so unimportant and so unnecessary to even have dialogue. Really, you got the gist of it just by watching it. And then said, who was there for the plot?
No shit. Not us. I hope.
Murders and trap killings, and at least for the first 20 minutes or so, that was pretty good.
Yeah, I was into the movie at first. I mean, even when the people were coming in, because I mean, we've all gone to these midnight movies, and when it's a bad movie, we're usually in there with high school students and like first year college students. And they all make noise, and it's okay.
They don't give a fuck.
Yeah, they don't give, and it actually lends itself now to these midnight movies. So even the people who were coming in will put me in the mood for the film. And then that first trap that we saw, I was like, damn, now that's what I'm talking about. Now, if this movie keeps this up, I can actually get with this. The audience was actually very smart. They laughed at all the bad dialogue. I even heard people in the front like you did, like, man, that's dumb.
Yeah, I know. That's all I heard behind me. I was like, oh, God. Oh, that's fucking stupid.
But Coho said, you had me laugh when we came in, and I'll let you say it, but I don't know if you remember what you said. You're like, man, as these traps kept coming along, it was like, Jigsaw got tired.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's like each trap, like the first like 3 or 4 traps, well, I'll say the first 3 traps are really fucking cool and creative. And after that, it's just like that motherfucker got tired because, you saw one trap where some guy just kind of got hanged. That was about it. I was like, oh shit, this is the part where fucking the floor's gonna open up. There's gonna be like fucking all kinds of crazy like
the
devices.
Floor gonna be full of bear traps and
there's gonna be like every kind of garden tool you can think of waiting for this guy. No.
His place is laid out like a ghetto death trap Disneyland. There's one that's like a sort of 4 people are going to die at once trap that's right after the first one that was even better than the first one.
Yes.
It was like, wow, that was badass. So I was with you, Corey. We were sitting there going, God damn, that was so nasty, and it was just awesome.
Oh, yeah.
But then there's like almost immediately after that, the whole movie just starts on its downward spiral.
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't let up until the ending, which is so disappointing.
No, it blew its wad really early.
It's almost like the last trap is like Jigsaw saying, if you can pull this piece of cheese from this mouse trap.
Yeah.
Like, that's it?
It's like the actual board game mousetrap.
You can get your mouse to the last square.
They should have actually borrowed.
Operation.
They should have. They should have borrowed from that for those last traps. It would have been a lot cooler.
Well,
they're tying it into all the old games. Oh, this is awesome.
You have to play Connect 4.
Yeah.
Sneaky Jigsaw.
Jigsaw is pretty old, so he remembers all that shit. Shoots and ladders and all that crap.
Yeah. And
just sunk your battle.
Yeah.
And see, this movie, it disappoints me because they promise it to be epic. I mean, if you haven't kept up with the whole series, some things are going to be lost. In fact, I'm looking at the guy's name here, who is now the main character of Jigsaw. The actor is Costas Mandylor, who plays the cop Hoffman.
Worst actor in horror ever, and that's really saying something.
Well, all these people they're on soap opera level acting here,
or below.
Yeah, and it's okay because this is sort of a horror soap opera now.
And they all kind of look like other actors. Like I thought the cop kind of looked like Christian Bale, and I thought the guy who was doing the book tour, I thought he looked like Edward Norton.
Yeah, they both look like they were kind of like the very poor man's version.
Yeah, stand-ins for those guys.
No, but that's how they get the money to build the traps. They're like, get me this person who looks like, because we can't pay them. Yeah, well, that's the thing.
It's just directing to the point. It's like, we get it.
Yeah.
They're a very basic series of characters at this point. What little flashbacks there are mainly just people going, oh yeah, remember when that really horrible bloody killing happened? So it just adds more gore context.
And I think it was due to the producers getting nothing but hate mail from that last movie going, what in the fuck, guys? I mean, I fucking paid all this money. It's Halloween. I invite my friends, and what I have to watch some fucking shitty ass Scooby-Doo detective story that I can't even see. So
yeah, and that's what this kind of was. I mean, throughout this movie, Tobin Bell, who is Jigsaw, has long been dead. And more and more, they just keep bringing him back in flashbacks.
Best job in horror movies.
Yeah, I know.
No, man, whether it be a flashback that they filmed specifically for that sequel, or it's taken from other movies. So now you have other people have taken over, including this guy Hoffman. And why am I even telling you this? Because from this point on, it just becomes like this really crazy narrative that doesn't really make much sense. I mean, it doesn't. And I know people who are Saw enthusiasts are going to say, oh man, this is canon here, and these characters lent themselves to this plot line here, and it's like, no, man.
Corey, after that audience tonight, they're not saying that.
They're not saying that.
Don't worry.
No, it's like it's okay, this myriad of characters that we have, it doesn't matter because the star of this movie are the traps. And I think with this movie that they said, all right, I didn't see the last movie, but if you're saying this is disappointing as you...
Oh, you barely noticed the traps. They're hardly there. Really.
Okay, well, in this one, they seem to up the game on that. And here's the deal. They say that this is the last movie. All right. So now they got this poster where it's like Jigsaw. He's like on a concert tour. He's looking like a Michael Jackson album cover. And
like Kiss is about to perform on him or something.
That actor has to get a solid paycheck out of this. I mean, he's plastered like 100 feet high on the poster.
Oh yeah.
And he's barely in the movie.
And he's in the movie, I believe, for one original scene.
Oh, there's like 2 or 3, but they're no longer than a couple seconds.
But then they're all flashback, and they are fleeting. You're right. They're a couple of seconds, and that's it.
Come in for an afternoon is what it comes down to.
Yeah.
To be in this movie.
He could just walk in and walk out with the camera rolling, and that's it. That's all they need him for. I mean, it's all thoroughly explained by the person who had the encounter with Jigsaw, which is, that's the only time you see him is when you have all these other characters that they introduced to you. All of a sudden, it's like it almost played the same way like it did the last film, where it's not till the very end does it all come together and they explain to you like, oh, I had an encounter with this Jigsaw person, and it, then they play you the memory of what happened.
And what I did like about this, they do a little something creative that I thought, and actually crossed my mind with some of the earlier movies. There's a plot line here where you have a guy who's claiming to be a victim, a survivor, or not even a victim, but a survivor who feels like he was born again, having made it through one of Jigsaw's traps. But we soon discover that there's more to that story than he's telling, and it gets him in trouble, which makes me think, why would you even fuck with Jigsaw like that?
That was
come and get you.
And that was actually the one clever. I think that was the only clever thing about this movie that I actually enjoyed, was the fact that this character was, it's like, oh man, you really fucked up, and now you and everyone that you're associated with may have to pay for this.
What was entertaining about that to me, though, wasn't that in and of itself. It was the fact that we got to see so much more of the media reacting to Jigsaw killings, and they treat it, and the cops do too. They treat it like it was a hurricane. The Jigsaw, like, what are you going to do? It's fucking Jigsaw. It's like it doesn't occur to anybody that you could even catch him or stop him. No one even discusses it. The killings on that level. It's just like, motherfucker got himself all caught up in the Jigsaw. What are you gonna do, man?
All I kept thinking is is this the same town that hired like the guys from Police Academy to be their police force? Because they hardly show up, during these things, and when they show up, it's like way too late. It's like 3 hours later, especially like when these traps are on display in front of like the public. It's like, where are the fucking cops at? Why is it taking them so long? And it's like, you see a scene where you see the cops and like they're tripping over people in a crowd, like, whoa, I think you see Mahoney and fucking Sweet Chuck trying to get through the crowd.
By the way, that's probably one of the biggest actors they have in the movie. The guy who played the guy who wrote the book about his survival experience from Jigsaw. That's Sean Patrick Flannery, the guy who was in, he was in, probably, exactly, that's what he's best known for.
But he looks so different since the first one. Something happened to his face. I can't.
Yeah, he looks like Edward Norton now.
Yeah, you know what happened? About 3 burritos. He got a little chubby. That's what happened.
He got over Botox. Just lost all the detail on his face.
And I actually thought that it goes to show the level of writing in the movie, because I actually thought he was decent, but God damn, some of those lines he has to say. He looks like he's on the verge of tears.
He's not as bad as the guy who's playing, the main good cop in this film, who was given dialogue that was so ridiculously bad that you're like, I got to applaud you just for being able to say that without like cussing out the director.
For some reason, that guy looked like he was really struggling hard to do
Chad, that's an actor named Chad, I think, look at his name here. Donella.
Okay,
and somebody you haven't heard of before.
Dude, he looked like he was struggling, just like those people were struggling with those traps. He was struggling with that dialogue, because he was like, "Man, I'm trying to do a decent job playing a cop, but this dialogue."
There's one line he has to say "crazy" in a matter of like 5 seconds, like "crazy, you're crazy," and he gets back up again. He's like, crazy. And the crowd is just laughing at him.
I was wondering, is this guy like really going out of his way to say this line so horribly that he hopes the director will just have no choice but to cut it out? But no,
hell no.
That shit
I tell you what was cool about it. I thought it was funny to be in this situation where, a theater where it's like probably 65% black people, and one of the at least, yes, and one of the, like, the second trap is 3 racists glued to a car, chained under a wheel.
I thought that death would have been more effective if they would have shown those guys being racist, because that's the thing. Like the people, the girls right next to me, they were obviously black because they were cheering and clapping.
Well,
they were going, "Fuck yeah!"
Well, that's what I was saying in the audience. Like during that part, with having a black audience, it turned into church.
Oh no,
a church of torture. I heard like the girl who goes like, "Wow!" I heard, yeah, get that motherfucker.
No. During that scene, reparations were paid. Believe me.
I'm starting to think maybe Tyler Perry should make one.
Tyler Perry's Saw,
and I was like thinking, wow, Jigsaw is actually a whole lot more effective than the Punisher ever was in any of his movies. I'm like, shit.
Oh yeah.
How come they can't get fucking Punisher right again?
And a lot more creative.
It has great time organizational skills.
Yeah.
Jesus.
What disappoints me in this movie are a few things. The one that we said, Tobin Bell just makes appearances now. They've shoved him into the movie because he's become such a part of the film. It's like
kind of embarrassing.
It really is, yeah. And especially, I mean, I have to admit, as far as the ending, as far as this being the final chapter, the ending of this film, I thought it was the biggest fuck you to every Saw fan.
Oh, well,
there,
and speaking of the ending, I mean, if a person who plays into a big part of this so-called plot is the return of Cary Elwes, which they made a big deal about. And you look at it and it's like, that doesn't even make sense how you brought him back. You just tried to bring it back to force a bookend ending to this.
It's no more sloppy than the writing in the whole rest of this.
That's true.
Pulling bizarre soap opera last minute bullshit like that. That's like, like we were saying before, does anyone really think there's a Saw Bible? Because there's not. No. No one has planned this ahead of time.
Not yet.
Movie to movie, low budget thing. I mean, I think it would be great if someone someday went back and reinvented this series with the idea of saying, we're going to make a solid trilogy of them with a plan.
Yeah,
it's a cool idea.
No,
it genuinely is. They're just all so badly made.
And I don't mind the badly made part of it, but the thing that I could even forgive the stuff I was just complaining about, but I don't want to be that sensitive audience member, and I'm not. I love seeing people get torn apart by these traps, but most
the white guy in the audience watching Saw. That just doesn't make any sense at all.
Those racists didn't really hurt any black people, not did they? But no, I'm looking at
they just like shaving their heads and wearing like big boots.
The whole black crowd there is getting all jiggy with it.
Those are just Tea Party members. But man, I look. It did sort of start to cross the line into human cruelty for me because all the people that he has in traps before, it was some sort of code with Jigsaw. It's like, these are not really good people. And even that was a stretch for me. It's like, some guy's late on his taxes, he's cheated, so Jigsaw wants to kill him. I mean,
and
it's
he
like,
had very specific reasons for each one based on his illness.
But some people, everybody was doing something that was immoral. And if you really pushed it, you could say, okay, I want to see a person get killed in a trap. I can accept that. Okay, maybe they just cheated on their math test or something. All right, that's fine. But then, as the movie series progresses, they lose sight of that code. They just start putting people in there who were like related to other people somehow,
You got a parking ticket.
Yeah, so I'm gonna put your mama in this trap. My mama, your mama paid for your gas yesterday. I don't like the look of your cat's face. What the cat's like?
It's a tenuous connection, but hey, I'm working over here.
Yeah, it's like we got to put somebody in this trap, and you weren't home, so your cousin was also.
I think Wesley Snipes was in one of those traps for not paying his taxes, right?
and I just thought like, wow, it's hard to really watch this movie and see somebody who had absolutely nothing to do with anything get killed in a really gruesome way. I mean, near the end of this movie, that kind of happens, and I'm like, where I was kind of just having fun with this, now I'm really disturbed and
really?
I thought it was ugly more than anything. I was just like, wow. And then it got kind of lazy. It's like, all right, I love the traps. I love seeing these people get torn apart, but man, as the movie progresses, and we said this already, it just turns into a bunch of stabbings.
Well, that's what I mean. As far as
except at the end, I like the trap at the end.
Well, the thing is, at the end, as far as I guess the death that you're talking about, that okay, did that person really deserve it? It was at that point where I thought the movie was just getting really lazy to where it's like, okay, it's almost like going overboard because it's getting so ridiculous. And you just know that no good can come out of the situation anyway. So it just left me not caring, honestly. I'm like, okay, now this is why these movies work, because it's just gratuitous violence, which that's kind of what I was expecting. So when that death happened, it really didn't affect me as much, honestly.
You know, it's the 7th movie, and we've seen a lot of traps. And if you're going to build this as the big one, then they should be not only bigger than the ones in previous movies and more creative, they should progressively, as the movie goes on, be bigger. And like we said before, they did the opposite. And, you know, you were saying you liked the last one. I didn't. That was just a repeat of one we'd already seen.
I didn't see the last one.
No, it was from the first one.
The last, wait, he's talking about the last, he's talking about the last trap.
Oh, the last trap.
Trap.
I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about the last movie.
No,
the
last trap that you were saying you liked. I was like, it was just the one we've seen before.
Yeah, you know what? For some reason, I've never seen that trap come into effect. I've only seen a little bit of the second movie, and I did not see the last movie at all. So
I've only seen the first one, parts of the second one, and the last one, and then this one. So.
Okay.
Just like you guys said, I mean, when they get the ball rolling at the beginning of the film, it really rolls until it hits a bump and it just kind of goes off the rails, and it almost starts to turn into that terrible movie I saw last time. So I'm going to give it a rental. It is kind of. It's a fun film at the beginning, but if you're not really into the series, I mean, it ain't gonna kill you just to rent it if you really want to see something fucked up. But I will give them credit for at least bringing the traps back to the forefront of the series, which is, you know, the series. I make an example of it. It's just like the the Friday the 13th series, where it's all about the kills. That's all you give a shit about. You don't care about any of these characters. You don't give a shit about the progression of this story at all. So yeah, I'll give it a rental.
Yeah, total extra points to them for putting the traps back in the forefront and saying, nobody gives a shit about this fucking story. Just go and let's get directly to the point. Let's get rid of all that excess bullshit. Just get to the killing. And it does that just fine. I mean, isn't that what we want from a horror movie?
Exactly.
Yes.
This kind of horror movie anyway. So, I mean, I give it points for that. I think it's disappointing that no one had the foresight to see, wow, this is getting boring as it goes along as opposed to ramping up. But, you know, what are you going to do? I want to actually give it a high rental, because, like I said, I think for somebody who is coming specifically for a Saw film, they're probably going to like this one an awful lot.
I usually like a really at least some character in there to root for, at least, you know. I don't know.
Well, that's a concept that's been horribly mishandled.
I'm actually with you. I have come to like this series more as I watch them, and that's not saying a whole lot, but I think it's one of the most unique horror series out there. I think it does deliver on what people really want to see in a horror movie. I mean, we get to see the things because it's one thing after another. Even when we talk about there's gaps in this, it does give you one scene of brutality after another, just gruesome brutality, and I like that. I just wish it just had more focus. I mean, I know we don't look at it for the story, but just more focus to stick to its theme and just find. Let's just, you know, I know they're gonna go on with another one. So can we just take Tobin Bell out of it and just and start with another series or something?
Or just put him back in. I mean, is anyone gonna scream and cry if you're like, oh, guess what? He didn't really die. No, they're not going to, because there's nothing more ridiculous about that than any other bullshit you've tried to do, including the ending to this one.
Oh yeah,
which is just like, come on, guys, seriously. All right, fine, whatever.
Yeah,
I'll see you next year, same place, same.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Just and I'm with you. I wish I just had something to root for, whether it be a hero or a villain. In
or
this
a
case,
villain,
a villain. Now, in this case, I want another Tobin Bell type character, but you're gonna have to give me a better actor, and you're gonna have to like make somebody who's more than just a memory or a flashback.
You know what? Why don't they just like put like video cameras in hardware stores, really, to catch this guy? Because he's got to be like, they got to know him by name at every single True Value.
He's got to have an account at every Home Depot in town.
I know, right? There's no way out. He's constantly building these huge elaborate things. Yeah,
it's like he's there every day. I mean, that's all you got to do. They never bring in as a witness the girl who's working the cash register at Home Depot. She's like, yeah, this guy's been coming in here for years. Nobody asked.
Well, the thing is, he must keep all this shit, like, you know, at least he probably checks the forecast when it rains, because this shit is so rusty, and it's like, it looks like it's been around for years, and you're like, man, you just bought this when?
But I tell you, man, I mean, you got, okay, it's gone beyond trying to find any reason in this movie because there's no human way possible that this guy could build all these traps. So I mean, this guy is building like elaborate haunted houses now, you know, and several of them.
A team
of
people.
He
needs a serious. I mean, come on, man. Nobody can get. You ever tried to? Even if you did, you ever tried to organize a group of people like into like very specific series of goals under a time crunch? They all have to be crazy.
No, he's sitting there. I tell you what he's doing. He's sending that puppet out to pick up every Mexican piece of labor in town. They're like, hey, it's a puppet. We don't care. We need a job.
Yeah, and I think those same Mexicans built the Death Star, the second Death Star. You know, so I think it could happen.
Say what you will about Mexicans, they know how to get the job done.
They don't ask any questions. They're like, we don't know why there's a bunch of blades here, and there's a human limb hanging from a chain, and we just stayed.
What exactly did you see in Jigsaw? Okay.
You give a Mexican some Legos and he'll build you the Taj Mahal. Don't worry.
All of my work has been leading to this.